So guys, hello, welcome to episode 29 of our Aston Martin Save. Now, if you didn't watch Tuesday's episode, my God, go back and watch it because, spoiler alert, we won the Miami GP, and you can probably tell at the bottom here, lap record as well from Pierre Gasly. The strategy to change to the medium compounder tyre, when we did, we built a 10-second lead and cruised on for our maiden win as team principal at Aston Martin. And as you can see there, doing it rather convincingly, beating Max Verstappen and the two Mercedes to the checkered flag. Fernando Alonso, however, had a rather difficult race, smashing his car up once again. That has cost him an ERS and gearbox and engine. So Fernando Alonso later in this season, he's going to have to take some more grid penalties in terms of those components. So Fernando Alonso's had a couple of bad races, could do with a good performance in the next one. And to be fair, it is a race that he should know very well, and a circuit he should know very well, because it is the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Lap record held by Max Verstappen, and first Grand Prix in 1991. Fernando Alonso's home race. Predictor strategy is a two-stop, mediums or soft. We'll see how it goes. We're not sure about the weather. We are upgrading the weather centre, and we're just going to show you that as well, because there is some facility upgrades. Tour centre's been updated because it wanted refurbishing, so we thought we might as well upgrade the lot. Hospitality area's been refurbished, weather centre and the design centre. That's the big one coming in 80 days' time. Also on the cars, we've had a couple of upgrades come through as well. We've had some new sideboards come through that are now installed on both cars. That's made a significant improvement, as you can see, from the design before, along with the suspension. And this is what I'm particularly excited about, because look at the difference on that right-hand side. Looking very, very good. We're still developing the car. We'll probably keep developing the car maybe for the next ATR period, and then we're going to be placing some focus on next year's car, because I think next season, quote this now, Pierre Gasly will be world champion. World champion. So without further ado, I'm going to get to practice. I'm going to get that lot done, and we'll see you in qualifying for the Circuit de Catalunya, the Spanish Grand Prix.
Formula One has cranked up the heat over Barcelona. The first Grand Prix held here was won by Nigel Mansell after a wheel-to-wheel battle with Ayrton Senna. But who will follow in his footsteps this weekend? Long straights and medium-speed turns dominate here, but there's something else to watch out for at Barcelona. The air currents are strong and unpredictable, and they'll be giving aerodynamic components a real run for their money this weekend. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. The weekend begins here.
And there's a huge shock in Q1. Pierre Gasly, we were only sending him out for the one run, but we sent him out towards the end, didn't have time to get another lap in, and locked up badly on his lap. So Pierre Gasly's knocked out now in Q1. Fernando Alonso is going to be taking a big grid penalty this weekend due to his engine in that crash that we saw in Miami. So both our cars likely to be starting from the back. Not ideal at all. We'll see how far we can get Fernando up. Right then guys, so strategy screen, and there is rain coming. If we have a look at the strategy, around lap 28, 29 is when the rain will start to come. We're going to stay out on the mediums, try and make them last a little bit. We are at the back, we know that. Try and do that and get to the wet period. Try the one stop, and then it's going to clear up a little bit towards the end, but I'm hoping we're going to be able to sort of survive on intermediates, but we'll see. We'll have to play it by ear a little bit. 19th and 20th. Let's see what we can do.
And there we have Pierre Gasly. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. And here's Alonso, the team's second driver. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. Will their hard work pay off today? This is it. It's the Spanish Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And away we go. And like I said, both our guys at the back, we're going to be straight on board with Fernando Alonso. We're not going to tell him to push on the tyres. It's all going to be about making these tyres last, making this medium compounder tyre last, and going from there. We've got some very slow cars in front of us, but we're going to have to get the strategies absolutely spot on to make sure we can maximise our points here this afternoon. And you've got to look at the Alfa Romeos and people like that. They've got a chance of really pulling out on us in the constructors as well. So straight away, Pierre Gasly working very hard to get past some of these slower cars. We're going to get both our guys on overtake.
Use overtake.
And see if we can make some places up early doors. That would be ideal for us as we have a look at the helicopter view. And Pierre Gasly now overtaking one Williams. He's going to now overtake Yuki Tsunoda and go past him as well. As everybody started on the mediums, they haven't. A lot of the guys at the front starting on softs. Now, of course, we think that the rain is coming. We know the rain is coming later on. If we have a quick look at the strategy view, which we will do now, we know this rain is coming. So, for us, we think that making this decision to start on mediums, we can stretch these, get to the wet period. That's the ideal for us. Pierre Gasly's already carving through these cars. Obviously upset to be starting at the back through possibly, well, it is some fault of his own, but there is a bit of my fault as well. There is a bit of blame on me, absolutely. But Fernando Alonso not being able to cut through like Pierre is doing. Rather concerningly, and at the moment, Fernando Alonso is boxed between two Williams, and he's managed to get his way out, and he's now looking to overtake them both. Pierre Gasly trying to get past the McLaren of Danny Ricciardo and the AlphaTauri of Lance Stroll as well. It's Lance Stroll up against his old team, but we do not want to be losing too much time to these front runners early doors. Lap 2, it's all Pierre Gasly carving through. What a guy this guy is. Lap 3, quick check-in. Pierre Gasly is carving through these people. He's P14 at the moment, done a fantastic job, dispatched Danny Ricciardo on the soft compound tyre, and now he's got a gaggle of cars in front of him, mainly on the soft compound as well. Fernando Alonso starting to make his way through as well, just behind in P16, but at the front it is Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, leading from Charles Leclerc. Then comes Max Verstappen, George Russell in P4, Carlos Sainz P5, Perez 6, Bottas 7, Ocon 8, Guan Yu showing 9th, and Lando Norris in 10th. But we're going to be on the back of Lando Norris rather quickly with Pierre Gasly. Lap 3. Safety car is out. We actually saw it live in front of us, but Alex Albon in the Alfa Romeo into turn 1. We were just behind here trying to tell Pierre Gasly to get his foot down. He's locked up. Oh, and it's the Haas, which puts Alex Albon into the barriers. Not good for Alfa Romeo. Not good for Haas either. And Magnussen again. Kevin Magnussen does like making an error on this game. He certainly doesn't. I'm a big fan of Kevin Magnussen in real life. I really am. But this is going to help us. This is going to help us. We'll conserve the tyres now, conserve the fuel, get a DRS charge back up, neutralises the race, obviously, gets us all back up together. And of course, we're really pushing for this wet weather. So this really aids us in making these medium compounded tyre last. And I'm wondering if the AI are going to chuck a pit stop in before the wet weather period. So all to play for, safety car. Lap 8, we're about to go back to green flag running. It's going to be Max Verstappen who's leading with those soft compounded tyre. When is he going to go? When is he going to go? Down this start finish straight, our guys both already lining up. And Max Verstappen's bolted, keeping his coat. Charles Leclerc lapping a little bit there. And where are our guys? Pierre Gasly, we're going to ride on board. He's got the overtake on Lando Norris from the restart using that ERS. We've now got tyres, we've got fuel, we've got ERS. That safety car's come at a nice time for us. And Pierre Gasly up to P11. Fernando Alonso hoping to follow him through. Lando Norris is on that hard compounded tyre, so we don't really want to be stuck behind him for any longer than we have to be. But Pierre Gasly's made a fantastic move to get past him, and now so has Fernando Alonso. And that, as Lando Norris has knocked Fernando Alonso back. How have we received a penalty for that? Please tell me, someone, how we have received a penalty for that. That is scandalous. We didn't even get to see a replay. We didn't even get to see a replay of that. And now there's an AlphaTauri off the side.
Yellow flag.
But that is shocking how we've received a penalty for that. But fortunately, Fernando is still within touching distance. Pierre Gasly now running in P10. But I would like to see that incident again. I feel we were very unfortunate there to get a time penalty. Lap 12, and you join us as we're riding on board with Pierre Gasly. Sebastian Vettel's been the pain of our lives at the moment. We've had to get past him, and we have done. Pierre Gasly up to P9. Lovely work from Pierre. And now he can chase after these two guys in front, and he really needs to catch up to them. So we're going to put him on deploy so he can get involved in this next fight and hopefully drop Sebastian Vettel back a little bit, because we do need to catch up to these next two cars. Meanwhile, Fernando Alonso battling back through the pack. I'm still absolutely fuming at the fact that we've been given a time penalty with Fernando. Totally unjust. It was Lando Norris who locked up into us. You could see that from Fernando Alonso's on board. We have been on to race control, but we are not getting any joy at all. So we're not so happy. Not quite throwing headphones about, but I'm very, very disappointed in this. But Fernando Alonso will ride on board with him here. He's going to get DRS up this next straight, and he certainly has. And that'll see him past Lance Stroll, past the old Aston Martin driver. And Pierre Gasly is now up with the next gaggle of cars. He's got Esteban Ocon and Valtteri Bottas to have a look at. Both of these guys on soft compounded tyres. These guys are all going to have to pit before the wet period. We can hang on a little bit further. So it's all looking rather promising. Lap 13. Lap 15, Fernando Alonso getting past Danny Ricciardo on them soft compounded tyres. Fernando Alonso's got to be absolutely furious. He's at his own race. He had a grid penalty. He did everything right. And then Lando Norris smashes him off. He's just not on. But Fernando showing all his class there. We're enjoying it in the Aston Martin garage, as we do most weekends nowadays. Again, this guy just doesn't like taking his helmet off. But as we go back on board, there's now 5 seconds to Esteban Ocon. So Fernando Alonso, it might be hammer time very shortly to firstly break that DRS of Danny Ricciardo, but then try and get up towards Esteban Ocon. We can see him in the distance, so he's there to be got at. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly just charging up his ERS a little bit, because next time we get past Valtteri Bottas, we'd like to make it stick, and we're going to get that ERS absolutely deployed as soon as we get the chance.
The brakes are really poor.
And Pierre Gasly locks up just as we see that. And that's not ideal at all. Now, where's that going to drop Pierre Gasly back to? Drops him back to P10. Not ideal at all. And he's got a couple of seconds now to Esteban Ocon. What it has done is brought Fernando Alonso back into play with the DRS. So not perfect from Pierre Gasly by any stretch. Hopefully, all the mistakes are now out of the system. Lap 21, and it's just starting to get a little bit darker. Pierre Gasly's managed to pull the gap to 1.1 seconds now towards these guys in front. So it's shortly going to be in DRS, and that's when we can start saving the fuel of Pierre Gasly. But we needed Pierre to drag us up to these guys, and he's doing just that at this moment in time. Fernando just latching onto the back of him. Has got the better tyres as well, Fernando, so it's looking pretty promising for both our Aston Martin drivers. Obviously, Alonso's got to serve that 5-second penalty when he just come into the pits. But Gasly's now got us back into the DRS of these cars in front. Bearing in mind, these cars in front may pit before the wet weather. So we're going to try and hang on as long as we possibly can and get to the wet weather period so we don't have an extra stop. But I'm expecting these soft compounder runners to be coming in any moment now. Lap 22. Right, we are going to have to double stack. Both our cars are going to be coming in very, very shortly. Most of the front runners have come in. Perez and Leclerc have stayed out, as have those two in front of us. So with both guys are now in. The good thing is we've managed to get Pierre in first. So Pierre obviously doesn't have that grid penalty, so it's going to be a normal stop for Pierre. Fernando's obviously going to suffer. We know that. We know Pierre, he's going to suffer. But I'm hoping once we get back out, we can be pretty positive. We could do a couple of decent stops here. But Pierre Gasly comes in, gets held a little bit. Then Fernando serving his penalty. We want to come out in front of that McLaren if we possibly can. Are we going to manage it? We're waiting. We have managed to get out in front of the McLaren. That could be absolutely key for us in this race. Pierre Gasly comes out in P11. Lando Norris yet to pit. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in front of him who are yet to pit. And now it's time for Pierre Gasly. He needs to get this car out of the way sharpish.
Overtake.
And is he going to manage it? He absolutely is. He's managed to dispatch. It's at Lando Norris. He's managed to get past Lando Norris. Great work there from Pierre Gasly. Fantastic work from him. He can use overtake and he can push now. And we're going to push on this lap to get him sorted, and the same is going to be said of Fernando Alonso. We need to maximise these tyres now. We're on the tyres that they need to be on. The other cars on track or not, so it's a time for Fernando Alonso to get moving, and he's caught in this gaggle of cars here. He needs to get past these cars. Fernando, get past him. What on earth is going off here? Get past him, mate. Oh my word, Fernando. That is absolutely shocking driving. Go past him. Thank you. My word, Fernando Alonso is not helping himself at the time. He really isn't. Pierre Gasly's done a lot better out of this than Fernando has, but the cars in front of him, he's got held up by these so
like Aston
much.
Martin have just gained a race position.
I cannot believe what I'm sat watching. Now go. And I'm guessing these cars are coming out of the pit lane. They're already out of the pit lane. Fernando Alonso has lost so much time there. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous how much time Fernando Alonso has lost in that little stint there. Meanwhile, we're looking at all that. He's had a bad old time at Aston Martin so far, Fernando Alonso. Back on the better bit, we're looking at Pierre Gasly, who's now up to P6. And interval-wise, only a second behind Charles Leclerc is Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon's winning distance, but the guys at the front certainly timed that right. The interesting thing is, if we look at the track, it's going to get wetter, and then we're going to come back into intermediates. It's anybody's guess getting this strategy right. Anybody's guess at all. But Fernando Alonso is now up into P11. Valtteri Bottas in front of him. Got some chasing down to do. Lap 25. Track condition has turned to wets, and I think we're going to be boxing this lap. We're going to box. We're not going to take any risks with Pierre. We're going to box onto the wet compound. I think we need to do that. There's a couple of guys already pitting for wets. There's no need to take this risk. Fernando Alonso, on the other hand, is there an argument to carry on? I would suggest possibly not. I think we need to get him in as well. So Fernando Alonso is going to come in for the wet compound as well. And he should be far enough behind. The Ferrari has stayed out of Charles Leclerc. That could be a huge error from Ferrari. In comes Pierre for his pit stop. A couple of guys are staying out. Even Sergio Perez has stayed out behind. But this weather is looking to worsen over the next few laps. We've got about 10 laps. If we just have a quick look at the track, if I click on the right button, it's going to get worse, then come back down a lap 50. So I think for 15 laps, it's worth doing what we're doing. Maybe sticking to the wets. We'll see what we can do here. Pierre coming in, and now lovely pit stop from Pierre, 2.7, fantastic for Pierre Gasly, like that. Let's have a look at what Fernando's going to do now as he's coming in. And that should see us through for this next stint of this Grand Prix. My God, we have to be reactive. Let's have a look at the cars in front. We've still got 1, 2, 3 cars on intermediate tyres. Is that going to really hurt them? You would expect it possibly is, because Pierre now on the wets. It's going to be very interesting to see where he comes out. Good pit stop for Fernando Alonso as well. 2.6 for Fernando. Lovely work. Now, how far is he off Valtteri Bottas? Valtteri Bottas still on the intermediate compound tyre, but 17 seconds is the gap to close. So Pierre and Alonso now on the right tyres. Let's see how we can go. Lap 34. Lap 35. It's treacherous conditions. George Russell, who stayed out on the intermediate, spinning round, doing his best Toblerone Dean impression. And as we can see, Pierre Gasly having a little drive through there. Position gained. What a time. Have we played an absolute blinder here? The cars in front, Leclerc and Perez, they're coming into the pit lane. Where is Pierre Gasly? Pierre Gasly's down the start finish straight. Pierre Gasly, he's looking absolutely in a fine position here. He's got Esteban Ocon in front of him. What about the guys in front? The top 3 look pretty much set, but P5 is definitely in there for Pierre Gasly this afternoon. Now, where's Fernando Alonso? We've got another couple of guys in the pits here. Fernando Alonso could do with pushing a little bit here to try and get past these guys. We're going to give him the ERS to use.
Use energy if you need it.
And see how far he can get. Let's have a look. He's got cars in the pit lane. Is he going to overtake a few of these? Fernando Alonso coming down the start finish straight. Vettel, Russell's just coming out as Perez is already out. Fernando Alonso, is he going to get George Russell? He's using that ERS, and he certainly is going to get George Russell. That spin has cost him dearly. 5th and 8th for the Aston Martin guys as it stands. Lap 46, a couple of guys going on to the intermediates. Pierre Gasly now on the wet compound still. It is going to get down to intermediates, then back up to wets again. So we possibly could pit this lap with Pierre. I think that might be the idea. Yeah, we're going to box this lap for Pierre, and then go from there. And I think it makes sense to do the same with Fernando as well. Let's get him boxed onto the intermediate tyre. We're possibly a lap too late there. Get these guys in, and we'll go from there.
Copy that. Bob.
Right then, Pierre Gasly is in the pit. Lewis Hamilton's through. Who else have we got round him? That's the question. Leclerc's in the pit as well. So Leclerc's behind. That's perfect. That's how we like to see it. The guy who were racing was Ocon. Ocon here on the intermediates. Where is Esteban Ocon? Esteban Ocon coming around the final corner. Gasly coming out. Ocon looks like he's going to get past him quite convincingly here. We are going to drop behind Esteban Ocon. Not by a huge amount. That's about the same. I don't think we lost too much there. Fernando Alonso coming in. Obviously, Charles Leclerc's coming out as well. We've got a couple of guys who are still on wet. So we'd expect Fernando Alonso now to be able to push a little bit since he's come back out. So I'm hoping now Fernando can utilise these tyres. Where's Sebastian Vettel? Sebastian Vettel's still quite a distance away. So still time for our guys to both score decent points here. It must be said, Perez is the one I'd be quite interested in now. We're going to go aggressive on these tyres. We're going to push a little bit on the fuel and see what we can do for a little while longer. The track, and that's all we've been looking at. It is going to get to the stage where it's onto dries, but then we're going to be back in the intermediate. So we'll see if the AI make another stop. Lap 48. Lap 50. We've been chasing down Esteban Ocon, and we finally got past him. Fantastic work from Pierre Gasly. He's our number one driver, and to be fair, he's by far my number one driver now. Pierre Gasly, I'm enjoying managing him. He's been an absolute delight since he's turned up at the team. Great work from Pierre Gasly, and these guys absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. Yes, boys, we're enjoying it. We're doing well so far this afternoon in Barcelona. But interestingly, George Russell last lap 1:31. Fernando Alonso 1:26. George Russell is still out on the wet compound, as is Sergio Perez, who was lapping in the 1:30. Pierre Gasly is 4 seconds quicker a lap. They're on totally the wrong tyre. Are they going to come in this lap? Sergio Perez, no, carries on, as does George Russell. Oh, George Russell just coming up to the pit entry. Will he end up coming in? He doesn't, he stays out. This could be absolutely crucial for Mercedes. They could get this so wrong or so right. Lap 50.
Let's have a look.
And what Mercedes are doing here is absolutely beyond there. That is Fernando Alonso overtaking George Russell on track. But not only that, if we have a look at this, Sergio Perez has now dropped behind Ocon and Gasly, and also Charles Leclerc's just managed to overtake him as well. So Perez and Russell, what on earth these guys are doing, I just cannot work out. Keeping an eye on this, it's going to get to the point where it's nearly dries. The only thing I can think is they're hoping that towards the end they're going to stay on these wets, but surely they're going to have to come in shortly. Lap 52. You join us live. Lap 54. Fernando Alonso getting past Sergio Perez. Fantastic work. He's had a torrid race, Fernando Alonso. He's had to battle through all types of adversity, but gets past Sergio Perez. Fantastic work from Fernando Alonso. The nervy thing now is it's all eyes on the weather. Our weather sensor's not the best, it must be said. 2 minutes, 70% chance of rain. This is where the wet compound runners could come back into their own. But I'm hoping Fernando can put a bit of distance between himself and Sergio Perez before that happens. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly land 3 seconds to Ocon. He's in a bit of a land of his own at the moment. He's just got past one of the back markers there, and he's got 15 seconds to his teammate. Looking rather nice for Pierre Gasly. As you can see, we're boxing both our drivers this lap. It's now got to dry weather conditions. Pierre Gasly running P4, I would expect, unless Charles Leclerc decides he wants to stop out, that we will stay P4. That's the idea behind it, definitely. He's in. Now, what is Charles Leclerc going to do? This is quite a dangerous situation for us here because we're in Charles Leclerc has pit. He has pit, as has Esteban Ocon. Fernando Alonso is going to do something similar. That makes sense just to sort of see how there's no reason to take any unnecessary risks here. Both our guys, we're okay on everything now. So let's get this speeded on a little bit. Get both tyres on. Both soft compounded tyre. Lovely work there. Charles Leclerc's come out in pretty decent distance, to be fair. So Pierre Gasly has got a bit of a battle on. But I don't expect DRS to be enabled just yet. So Pierre Gasly's out, looking rather fine, as has Fernando Alonso out in P7. Both guys maintaining position as it stands. So we'll have a quick rundown after those pit stops. Max Verstappen leads from Lewis Hamilton. Then comes Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly P4, Charles Leclerc P5, Ocon 6, 7 for Alonso, Vettel 8, Bottas 9, Stroll 10, George Russell and Sergio Perez. Their strategists in the debrief, one absolutely sacking. Unbelievable scenes, lap 64. So final lap, it's Max Verstappen, it's pretty much in formation. We've managed to hold off Charles Leclerc. We've said to both our guys now, right, let's have a push on the ERS, push on the tyres, and let's see if we can get a fastest lap for one of our guys. Both guys using ERS. I'm guessing it's going to be Pierre Gasly, who's the man who could possibly get the fastest lap. That's the idea. If we can manage it, I'd be absolutely delighted, but we're going to keep an eye on the sector times. We'll just put it onto 2 times speed, and hopefully we see a purple in this middle sector for Pierre Gasly. That would be ideal. Are we going to get to see it? And pinch the fastest lap off Ferrari. It'll be very interesting. It's purple through the middle sector for Pierre Gasly. Can he get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix? Fernando Alonso down in P7. It's going to be interesting to see if he can do it. Pierre Gasly's in rounds the final few corners. Double points finish for Aston Martin here in Barcelona. We've combated the elements. We've had to make the right strategy calls at the right time. As Pierre Gasly comes round the final corner, is he going to get fastest lap? He's not. He's not going to get fastest lap. Oh, he is! Pierre Gasly, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:18.9. Fantastic work again from the Gasman. Excellent drive. I couldn't have put it better than the race engineer. And Fernando Alonso is going to come through. P7, lovely work. Fernando Alonso done very, very well this afternoon. He's had to battle all sorts of adversity. Didn't deserve that 5-second time penalty by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So what are they today?
And as Fernando says, it is our day today. Take up the pickup and we'll get to the classifications. And as promised, here are the classifications. Max Verstappen winning the Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton in P2, Carlos Sainz P3, Pierre Gasly P4 gaining 15 places, Charles Leclerc P5, Esteban Ocon P6, Fernando Alonso P7, obviously with that time penalty, as we've mentioned a couple of times, gaining 13 places and got a couple of grid penalties out of the way as well. Sebastian Vettel in P8, fantastic performance from him. Valtteri Bottas P9 and Lance Stroll getting a point for the Alpha Tauris. Drivers wise, that means Pierre Gasly stays in P5 but just closed the gap on Sergio Perez. Again, Sergio Perez and George Russell, my God, what were they doing? 64 points now for Pierre Gasly. Fernando Alonso goes up to P11, gaining 6 points for his season total. And in the Constructors, we are still very much nestled in P4, and it must be said a very clear P4 from Alpine, and we are just, 21 points blackjack behind Mercedes. Red Bull still lead the way from Ferrari in P2. Williams yet to score a point. Thank you so much for watching that. I hope you've enjoyed it. Couple of entertaining episodes this week. We'll see you next week for the next race. Like and subscribe. Have a fantastic weekend. Ta-ra!